the Art and Industry of Business and Living podcast, discussing conscious choices around business, money, life and living, and creating a greater future for you and the planet. Hi everybody, welcome to the Art and Industry of Business and Living. You're with, guess what? Surprise, surprise, your host, Simone Milasas. Oh yeah, I'm here every week doing this. And I'm actually at home this week, a short stint. Just got back from the south of France and Dublin, and it was awesome. Didn't find any leprechauns, still asking for that pot of gold to show up, and it's showing up. I'm telling you, it's showing up, because if you don't ask, you can't receive. And I'm at Bridging Beach at the moment at home, and I have a guest on here who is also a fellow Aussie. She lives in Melbourne, Australia. Her name is McDonald. She's also a Joy Business Facilitator, which also means she's an Access Consciousness Facilitator. So welcome, Michelle.
Thank you so much for having me, Simone. It's exciting to be here.
It is. I love these shows. I have so much fun and we get some really good feedback. So, and if you're listening and you want to share these with your friends, do it. So, one of the things that I asked Michelle to come on and do a podcast with me and said, what do we want to talk about? And she said that definition is coming up for her, which is really interesting because this is one of the, the new tools that we've, come across in Access. And one of the reasons I love Access Consciousness is the change that it creates and the change that it is. It's like there is no, material that is set. Every single class you go to is completely different. It's not defined. And what I'm noticing is with this too, is every time you go to a definition of you go to a definition of your business, your money, your health, body, relationships, everything, what it does is it starts to limit you. So I would love to explore this with you as well, Michelle. So tell me, what's been coming up for you with the definitions? How do you see this? People can change this.
So it's been really interesting because I guess sort of it was coming up the same time that before it was actually said in class. And
you mean you're psychic?
I'm so psychic. And the same, I was exploring, because I work with a coach, and I was exploring a couple of areas where I wasn't stepping up and I wasn't putting myself out there. And she asked me to do something and I was like, oh, no, I can't do that. I can't be, I can't be recorded. I can't have anything written down. And she's like, well, you can't be a leader if you're not going to do that. So I had to start looking at that. And it became really interesting and working with someone else as well, that I was tracking it back. And it basically sort of started around about the time I set up my business in Australia. And this was a business that was skincare. And not long after I set it up, we moved across to the US. And so I packed up my business and I took it across with me, and I didn't really know anyone. And so I was still sort of servicing my clients in Australia and finding my feet over there. And in the same time, after that, shortly after arriving, we got pregnant. And then so I became a mum, and then I started picking up all those definitions of what it is to be a mother, what it is to be a wife, because I also moved across as a defence civilian spouse. And it took someone 3 months to actually ask me, what did I do? Because I was there.
Because you were just the wife. You were just the mother. You just had to be there. Yeah. The ball and chain.
I was the support base, but I didn't exist outside of that. And, to go that long without someone actually, what do you do? It was crushing. And so I realized I had started picking up on all those other things that I should be, that I'm a daughter and this is my duties, and I'm a wife and these are my duties, and I'm a mother. So, in between two moves, like back to Australia, back to the US and back to Australia again, and now it's really starting to get my business going. There were some things where it's just like, yes, I'm all in. And then I'm like, but I'm not. And as I started digging further and further in, I saw that I was just doing mediocrity. I was playing safe. And those older definitions kept pulling me back in. And what's really interesting is that where I'm doing business in the house, So yes, I have a designated office and everything else, except all those other roles are attached to me and they're just outside my office door and they keep pulling me out. Oh, get this load of washing on and do this and do that and do that. And there's no space and there's no time for me to actually, really throw 150% into my business because I keep being stretched in all these different directions. And what I found really interesting was the other day, last week, I was like, no, that's it. I'm actually going to go and start working in the city 2 days a week in a professional space outside of the home to give me that space to go, all right, let's do it without any distractions whatsoever.
And so have you started that?
I'm starting this week. So
okay, cool. Are you excited about it?
I am. I've seen where I've started it in the past and then pulled back because something has happened. There was something that happened and I needed to be back home closer to pick up. But when I did that, I also picked up all the other roles that I'd let go of. And so I was like, no, actually now we mean business. We're getting out. We're doing it. And there's no more excuses.
I love that. And I'm so grateful, Michelle, that you're talking about this because I can, how many people out there are listening and in some way there's a familiarity to what you're talking about, like the amount of justifications that people have of why they can't do something or the defined roles that are so easy just to step into. And yet that's not who you be. It's who this reality has projected at you that you should be. And what I see too is like when you're willing to give up all of those definitions and the fixed points of view, the limitations, the conclusions, etc., it's like that's when you can actually start to create a successful business, one that has all possibilities that are available. It's like not functioning from what this reality has defined you as. So I actually have some processes here because I just do. Because I did a call for the certified facilitators of Access Consciousness this morning. And then it's funny, I looked at what you wrote down to do this podcast and I went, oh, how fun. It's the definitions, like destroying and uncreating all the definitions. So let's run this one process and then we can talk more and give some more tools and questions to people out there who are feeling that really familiarity with what you've been talking about, Michelle, and see if we can't assist them in changing that and getting them out of that too, because you have choice. You always have choice. So what you can run and put on a loop is how many definitions do you have to maintain the comfortable control you think makes your life and business real. And everything at that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it, right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Now I'll run it one more time. How many definitions do you have to maintain the comfortable control you think makes your life and business real? And everything at that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Now, if you want to know more about the clearing statement, don't forget to check out theclearingstatement.com with Dr. Dane here explaining it. Defining it. No, he's not defining it. He's giving you more information. But what I see here is like with this process is the comfortable control is that place where, say, let's look at Michelle and look at her life. If she went, oh, okay, no, I have to do the washing. I have to be the mother. I have to be the wife. Like this is my comfortable control I have of my life, rather than willing to step outside of her comfort zone and go, you know what? What do I need to institute? What can I actualize and what action can I take that's going to create a different reality and one that you're actually asking for but not hiding behind? So all of you out there listening, it's like have a look at where you are creating that comfortable control, where you're keeping everything the same as what it was instead of actually asking to change something up. And it's not about judging you. It's not about going to the wrongness of you. It's about starting to look at making a different choice. So, Michelle, what would you advise too, and what sort of questions or anything that you can talk to listeners about if they're listening to this and going, God damn, shoot, that's exactly what I've been functioning from? What gives you that initial sort of energy or momentum just to sort of go, you know what, no, not doing this anymore?
For me, it was taking a look at it and just going, you know what, is this really working for you? And I got to know. And it's like, okay, so what could I choose? What could I change? And what could I create? And what could I actualize from it as well? So, it's not working for me. Am I willing to let the house fall apart? And as a control freak, I'm like, that's my boundaries. But I went, you know what? Yes, because now it's time for my business and all of my businesses, not just one particular business, but now it's time for all of them to be able to have the space to create outside of the constraints that, you can grab an hour here or you can grab half an hour there. So that was one thing that I was like, okay, what am I really willing to do?
Without a definition of mom coming in.
Yes. And what's really interesting was I had a session yesterday, and for me, so the definition between the word entrepreneur and the word mumpreneur. And I've had resistance to mumpreneur. And what I see, like when I looked at it, an entrepreneur, it's normally a man. You can get in and you can do it. You don't have the tethering of the house and the family and the responsibilities that a mumpreneur has. So it's now, okay, now how can I redefine that for me? Let's throw all those definitions out the window, and what will actually work for me to create the business the way that it would like to be created, and not from my point of view and what I'm defining it to be, but actually asking questions and talking with my businesses and saying, okay, what would you like to create now? And where would you like to go with this? To give me more of awareness of what I would like to step into and what is possible. Because often when we're in definitions, we jump into the, judgments and conclusions because we're like, okay, I've asked this question and now I've got this answer. But what if I could just go, okay, and now what else? And now what else? And what else?
I love that. And I love the way you spoke about the entrepreneur and the mumtrepreneur, because it's interesting. I created something completely opposite. Like with my partner, and he, I have a stepchild. He was the one staying at home and cooking and looking after the house and doing all of that. And gradually we got, house cleaners, et cetera, and got someone to do the ironing and the washing and all that sort of stuff. And I was the one going out to work and sitting at the kitchen bench with a glass of wine while he was cooking dinner and bringing home the bread, as they say, and making money. And it was funny, this morning I was on a meeting and talking about something that I am creating that will be launched in November. And I was on with a few people, and Brandon goes, yeah, this sounds great. He goes, because I need new clothes. Now, he's 11 years younger than me, so he's my toy boy, right? That was the big joke. I said, you know what? I think you've grown out of toy boy. I think you're actually creating more than that now. And then I went, what about not new clothes? What about a jet? Like, let's aim for a jet. And he went, well, I need new clothes and a jet, don't I? But it was so interesting how quickly there's definitions, and then you can break through those definitions. And I find, and I don't know about you, Michelle, I find every time I realize I'm defining something and just go, fuck that, I'm not doing that anymore, and it sort of blows it apart, there's this other possibility that's available that puts a smile on my face and more of an upbeat, step in my walk or my run or whatever that is, because you've been hiding and denying all of that can actually show up for you. And what if now is the time to actually step into that and be that and stop hiding and using those, definitions and the reasons and justifications for not creating what you can. So another process you can run too is, what definition of you and your business do you have that is not you? Like you were saying, like the mumtrepreneur, and it's like, oh, what an entrepreneur usually, quote unquote, is in this reality, that it is a man. And it's, entrepreneur is also known as a risky business. Like that's a label that goes with it too. And a bit of, can't really commit to something. It's not really a good, safe job. Why isn't it, And it's like, oh, what if no job was safe? So all of those definitions. So what definition of you and your business do you have that is not you? And everything at that is times a godzillion, destroy and uncreate it, right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. So Michelle, tell us about some of these businesses that you're creating.
One of the businesses is an online course strategist. And so
your undefinable businesses, I should have said.
One of my undefinable businesses is an online course strategist. And that's where I assist coaches, consultants, trainers, and entrepreneurs to move some of the information that they have that they coach out, and so that they can leverage their business. Also, Access Certified Facilitator, so running classes there. And one of my favorite businesses is being a Joy of Business facilitator and creating that ease And exactly this, like, let's look at your business and let's look at what's working for you and what's not working for you. So facilitating classes and workshops, one-on-one calls with that as well, like coaching sessions. And of course, I have a family that a beautiful daughter that I am assisting with in that, but if I am those tools, then she'll look at me and then and without a definition of that, because she does do this, and she came to me and she was sobbing last night about, she judged the hell out of herself for something. She did a performance, a ukulele performance, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's where I was a couple of days ago. And so, it's like, okay, what if you ask these questions and is it yours? And I tell you what was so funny was I asked the question last night and she was absolutely horrified. And I was like, is this fear or is this excitement? And she was like, Mom. I'm like, and I can't, what, they feel exactly the same in your body. But because we've defined this situation as something that's scary, it should be scary, we lock that into our body and we think that we're actually terrified to do something. So everywhere that we have all decided, misidentified and misapplied what fear and excitement is, we now destroy it and create it all.
Yes.
Good, bad, pod, poc, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And, even asking that is like when you go, actually, no, I'm not scared. It's actually like, I actually am excited. And you go, wow. And what else, can I create, from here, from this space and spring forward with?
It's a great tool to bring up. Thank you, Michelle, because if you actually tap into the excitement of what, Michelle's talking about with her daughter, it's undefinable. If you tap into the energy of defining that it's fear, then you create the limitation. So I love that. So what if you could look at that with your business and the projects and, moving? It's like, what else would you like to create? I mean, people create this, comfortable control, as in the first process I did with a geographical location, or, well, I've been there, done that. I've done that this many years, so I guess this is all I know. No, it's not. There's so much more that's possible. So what if you could be completely and utterly undefinable? And everything that doesn't allow that to show up, will you destroy and uncreate it? Please.
Yes.
You just have to say yes. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pod, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds.
And also the definitions of where you should be doing business. Like, just because I am based, back in Australia, doesn't mean that my business is limited to Australia. And I have clients all over the world. And I facilitated some classes in New Caledonia, and, and I don't know any French. And, it's like, okay, that's really exciting. And how can we do this? Not how can we do this, but what would it take to be able to do this? Who do we need to add to the team? What haven't I considered? That I can start pulling all these questions apart to give me more awareness of what needs to be put in place. Oh, that's easy. You need a translator. Okay, where can I find who's a translator that does English and French that's in this region that I can tap into? And it's then allowing that, and also allowing those other components and people to contribute to your business that you'd not yet considered.
Yeah, exactly. No, I love it. And it's like opening it up. And I was just saying this morning that it's interesting. I mean, I travel all over the world and, doing access consciousness classes and running a lot of the company. And I live in the Sunshine Coast, Queensland, Australia, and it's probably the least place that I can get away with doing classes here. And it's like, what, they don't seem to be asking for it, but across the world. So if you do limit yourself geographically, it's like, then how much are you limiting your business rather than, as Michelle said, opening your clientele up to the entirety of the world? I mean, with the technology we have nowadays, it's like anything is possible. You can be living in a small country town in Western Australia and be having a huge, business occurring in Europe. Anything is possible. So everywhere that you've defined your business geographically, we destroy and uncreate it, times a godzillion, right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pod, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Like, what else truly is possible? What if you started asking those questions? What else could show up? So, Michelle, where can people find you?
I am on the Access Joy of Business website. So I actually have a page on there. I have an Access Consciousness page, and you can actually find me at michellemcdonald.net.au. And whilst that's my online course page, I'm actually building the back end for the for the other page as well. So it's like, how can I use what I have? And actually, when I say that, is like, it's not stopping me. Okay, it's just like, okay, I haven't got my, Joy of Business page up and running, but I have all these other platforms that I can use. And I have a Facebook page, Joy of Business with Michelle McDonald. And what else is possible?
Cool. And that's a really good point to bring up too, just as we're, finishing off here, is that how many businesses define what they are, where they are, why they are, and how they are by things like their websites, do I have a business card? Do I have a letterhead? Do I have, like, what's the appropriate thing to create a successful business? Guess what? You're the appropriate stuff to create a successful business. You are the source of creation. It's like your business card is not the source of creation. You are the source of creation. And if you start engaging in a really different way, and I have a podcast coming up about that soon too, about engagement, because this reality looks at it as communication. And you can have all of those things. You can have websites, landing page, business card, and do all of that. And it assists in engaging with people, but don't make it about that. And it's like, please acknowledge the contribution and the capacities that you have are far greater than what you've been willing to acknowledge. And if you start to acknowledge them, then the engagement with the molecular structure of the planet, of the universe, brings you a lot more possibilities. And the quicker and faster that you get rid of all the definitions of you and get rid of the definitions of your business, then more can show up with greater ease. And you know what? You might think, oh my God, it can't be that easy. But guess what? It can be that easy. Like the mantra of Access, all of life comes to me with ease, joy, and glory. It's like, let's do this.
If you are willing to be that invitation, then people are going to find you no matter where you are. I have so many people that whilst I'm on Facebook, I'm in groups all the time, and this is where I'm meeting people, and they're messaging me in the back end, not even in posts that I put on. So people will reach out to you, whether it's through someone that they know, and actually, if you have someone that stumbled across you, ask them how they find you. And then, like, people have found me by a Google search, but when they try to do it again later, you actually don't appear in that search because they were asking a particular question of someone that they were looking for at that particular time. And so by asking a question, that it allows it to show up.
I like that. And also, I want to point out something you said there too. It's like by being you and engaging with different things like that. I was talking to a guy the other day, and he did this Facebook Live, and I know him, and it was really vulnerable. And I would describe him as really an Aussie bloke, like the way his accent, the way he talks, and the way he's adorable. And he did this Facebook Live, and he was so vulnerable about being a bloke, being a man, and what that is, and all the expectations and the definitions that come with that, and what he's supposed to be. Pretty much like what you were talking about at the beginning, Michelle, being a mum, looking after the house, the wife, etc., doing all of that, and how he was changing that and breaking through that. And he said, you know what, if you're out there and this is going on for you, he said, please know that you're not alone, and, reach out if you want, and Facebook message me. And this was quite a few months ago, and he told me that people are still messaging him and still watching that. And I've got to say, the level of engagement, invitation that he is what created that too. He wasn't trying to get out there and sell anything. He wasn't trying to convince anyone of anything. He was just sort of going, hey, this is what's up for me. I get that this is what's up for a lot of people in the world. So guess what? You're not alone, and you can change it, and you can be anything you desire to be. So that's what I truly ask of all of you, to know that as well, that you can be undefinable and you can choose something more. You're allowed to choose something more. It's totally fine. You're not going to be, hit with lightning or burnt on a stake or something like that. It's like, let's do this. This is our planet. This is our Earth. What are we going to create? What are we going to change? What are we going to be?
It just blows me away every time I think it's just me. And suddenly it's the same for everyone, that, we just think that, no one else is going through this? And in actual fact, how super aware are you of what everyone else is going through?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. How aware are you? We're so aware of what's going on. Did you ever see, is it The Good Life? The Good something. Damn, can't remember now. But anyway, she's an actress and she's always on Christine Bell, is it? Christine Bell on Instagram. And I love the way she doesn't go on there and do all this like, hey, this is me, I'm perfect, I'm this, I'm whatever. She comes on just going, hey, guess what? You know what? People put on Facebook and stuff that everything's okay. Yeah, Christian Bell, she's great. But she's like, but everyone has these shitty days. And what I get is what Access Consciousness has is the ability to change those shitty days. It has the tools to realize that maybe it's not yours and you can change it. I mean, one of the questions we talk about and I've spoken about in this podcast is, who does it belong to and is this mine? Just know that you can change it and stuff does show up. But that's the mantra of Access. All of life comes to me with ease, joy, and glory. It's like the good, the bad, and the ugly. It doesn't mean that every day is, full of roses and it's like, laughing and everything is joyful and it's, the sun's always out. It's like, no, sometimes life is really interesting and throws you some curveballs. So how are you going to deal with that? All of life comes to me with ease, joy, and glory. There's questions, there's processes, there's different things that you can be with that and recognize, like Michelle and I were saying, that you're not alone and there's stuff that shows up for everyone. And what if we could change it? And, what action would we need to take to be something different here? So, Michelle, is there anything else that you want to leave the listeners with here?
No, I'm just looking at a whole pile of questions that I have that are sitting just above my desk.
Go for it.
So if there were no problems today, what would I choose? And if I wasn't creating a problem here, what else is possible? And I'd also like, when you're looking at something and you're going, okay, well, who am I? Like when you suddenly go, well, I can't do this because of this. And it's like, okay, who am I being? What definition have I applied to myself here? And what can I change from here? What could I choose? And what can I create?
Cool. I love those questions. Thank you so much. And if you like this podcast and you like those questions and the processes, sign up for the summary and you will get sent that via email. And if you like this podcast, please pass it on to people. Don't forget to check out accessjoyofbusiness.com and find a JCF, a Joy of Business facilitator near you. Or check out accessconsciousness.com as well. You'll find Michelle McDonald on there. You'll find myself on there and many of the people who have been on this podcast. And I would say, get your bars run. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, check it out. Because if you've got all this stuff going on, getting your bars run is one of my favorite things in the world because it just creates way more ease. It deletes all of those, thoughts, feelings, and emotions that you have that are limiting you as well. And you can find bars facilitators on the Access Consciousness website too. So you can find Michelle McDonald, like I said, on the Joy Business and Access. And was it michellemcdonald.com?
michellemcdonald.net.au.
.net.au. Perfect for Australia. Okay, but she works worldwide. So, Michelle, thank you so much for joining me on here today. I loved our topic today and that we, get to assist in destroying all the definitions that people have of themselves and their business and what else is possible. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me, Simone.
All right, we'll see you next time.